to finishing the product by hand, you can use a hover trowel. The hover trowel is a lightweight mechanical finishing machine that's powered by either high-pressure air or a gasoline motor. If used to provide the final finish of our trowel-down flooring system, it can produce exceptional results over a smooth floor that's been properly prepped prior to installation. Because of the speed in which the blades rotate and the resin-rich properties of our epoxy system, you need to ensure that you have the material spread consistently no thicker than 3/16 of an inch for ideal results to be obtained. To start off, you need to trowel the material onto the substrate consistently between 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch with hand trowels prior to using the hover trowel. Remember, the hover trowel is only a final finishing tool. In this example, you need to tape the radial cove before initially spreading the flooring product in order to keep it off the radial cove base. After spreading the product down to 3/16 of an inch by hand, you need to pull the tape off before using the hover trowel. If you don't pull the tape off at this time and decide to wait until the following day prior to applying the finished sealer coat, it will get embedded in the epoxy and be very difficult to remove after the epoxy has cured. Once the floor product is spread out and the tape is removed, set the hover trowel on it to finish it off. The hover trowel works like a buffer. Lifting up makes it go in one direction, and pushing down makes it go in the other direction. It only takes a little bit of up or down movement to move the hover trowel in either direction. Make several passes on it until you get the finish that you're looking for. Your helpers should be spotters to look for errors or problems in the finish using low-level lighting. Applying the gloss coat. You should always attempt to install your sealer coats after the epoxy has cured enough not to leave impressions in the floor when walked on. Usually 10 to 12 hours after it's been troweled to the floor at 60 degrees or higher. Even though the flooring is hard enough to walk on before sealing, be sure to take off your shoes prior to walking on it. If you don't, the epoxy floor may pull dirt off of your shoes that's nearly impossible to get rid of. The most important thing to remember before starting your seal coat is that the floor is tack-free and is solid enough to walk or kneel on without leaving impressions. If the floor has been installed more than 24 hours prior to sealing, you must first sand the floor with 60 grit sandpaper, sweep it off, and wipe it down with rags soaked in denatured alcohol. Now empty the contents of the B can into the A can and mix with a drill on slow speed for 30 seconds. If using a paint stir stick by hand, you'll want to mix it for at least 1 minute. Whenever you have a vertical surface like we have here, you'll need to paint the sealer on before installing the sealer over the flat floor. Watch to remove any excess sealer that runs down the wall and puddles on the floor. Once again, pouring the material out along the wall will increase the pot life of the material and make it easier to work with. Install the product with the squeegee using hard, steady pressure, always working toward the exit. Using spike shoes, wet your 1/4 inch roller nap in the epoxy and back roll the floor in 2 different directions perpendicular to each other. This method should remove any marks or ridges left by the squeegee and creates a more uniform finish. Dull finish satin urethane is an optional top coat. Empty contents of the A and B part into an appropriate mixing container. Mix for 30 seconds if using a drill on low speed, or no less than 1 minute if mixing by hand using a paint stir stick. Apply using a paintbrush on the top edge of the base cove and a roller for the vertical sides. Dip your roller and spread the material very thin, leaving a white milky look. This type of sealer will dull the floor finish and hide imperfections. Unlike the glossy finish, it only needs to be applied in one direction. You want to avoid leaving puddles. And there you have it, our finished floor. Installing over other flooring substrates. Now let's look at the procedure to be used when covering other common flooring substrates. Our first stop is installing the Phoenix epoxy system over a hard surface tile, such as a quarry or ceramic. The difference in procedure here is in the preparation of the surface. Our first step is to ensure the tile substrate you're installing over is in good sound condition. You will need a 4-inch grinder with a diamond cup grinding blade and 7-inch grinder with a diamond grinding blade and dust collection system, dust shroud for grinder and shop vacuum, for preparing the tile substrate. The purpose of grinding the hard surface tile is to remove the glaze off the face of the tile for optimum bonding. Grind the vertical tile with the 4-inch grinder with the shop vacuum collecting the dust as you grind the surface of the tile. Next, grind the flat 4 with 7-inch grinder with a diamond cup grinding blade and dust collection system. After grinding, clean the floor by sweeping and wipe down with denatured alcohol. Now it's time to mix your skim resin, which is normal flooring kit resin's A and B parts blended together for 1 minute and 2 gallons of anti-sag material added and mixed until you reach a thick, glue-like consistency. You simply trowel this over the tile to fill in all the grout lines, being careful not to leave ridges of resin left behind by your trowel. Let it cure 8 to 10 hours prior to the installation. After this preparation, you can follow the same steps that we outlined in the previous example to install the vertical base and floor. Now let's take a look at special considerations when installing over a wood substrate. Like before, you'll want to ensure that the surface is in good condition and tightly adhered. Next, install HardieBacker board over the wood. Of course, you'll want to do this according to the HardieBacker board manufacturer's written instructions. Make sure that you use backer board screws instead of nails to secure the boards to the wood subfloor. Now install the white adhesive-backed fiber mesh tape over all of the HardieBacker board seams. Apply skim resin over all the tape seams and let cure for 8 to 10 hours. The surface is now ready as before to install the Phoenix epoxy floor system. Our last stop is placing an installation over a VCT or VAT substrate. First, ensure that the VCT has not lost adhesion to the substrate it was installed over and that any wax on the VCT tile has been stripped off the tile. For extra adhesion, you can get your shop vacuum and grinder with diamond cup grinding blade ready to rough up the surface. Grind the floor to rough up the surface and then sweep the floor with a fine bristled broom, then wipe it with lint-free rags and denatured alcohol. You're now ready to install using the procedure that we first outlined. Making a repair or patch. 1. First, tape off the area perimeter with duct tape. Use the inside of the tape as your guide while making the cut. The duct tape will also protect the existing floor to remain from getting the new material on its surface. 2. Use a 4-inch grinder with a diamond cutting blade around the perimeter of the area needing removal. 3. Remove the material in the damaged area. 4. Add enough material for the repair and trowel down as before. 5. Pull the tape after the material has been troweled down on the floor and before the product is cured. 6. Let it cure for 8 to 10 hours before retaping perimeter edge and adding your sealer. 7. Let the sealer sit for 1 hour prior to pulling your tape. This will allow the sealer to cure enough to keep it from running over the taped edge once the tape has been removed. That's all there is to installing our excellent flooring solution. This is the Phoenix epoxy flooring system. This is a simple, fast, and great solution to many flooring challenges and new installations as well. Also remember to please call for technical assistance if you have any questions or concerns.